A crime in the stars. The chamber of the Galactic Council glowed like a cathedral carved from light. Suspended above a dying blue star, it was a place where war and peace were decided by words, not weapons. Representatives of over 100 species sat in semicircular rows, their voices buzzing in a cacophony of translations, languages overlapping like waves crashing onto a single shore. And they were angry. At Earth, on the central platform, raised above the gathering, the Zenkari ambassador, a long-limbed, silver-scaled being named Vak Talzen, hissed into his amplification node. The Terran blockade of our trade lanes is illegal, aggressive, a breach of the compact. Cries of agreement echoed across the chamber. Dozens of species, allies, rivals, neutrals, demanded Earth's delegate explain themselves. They didn't have to wait long. The doors at the rear of the chamber slid open with a hydraulic hiss, and General Helena Vos entered, clad in a matte black uniform bearing no rank insignia, only the emblem of Earth, a single silver arc around a blue sphere. She walked alone, without aids or armor. Her face was sharp, weathered by war, but carved with purpose. Her eyes scanned the hall not with arrogance, but with resolve. She took her place at the center podium, silent as the room continued its angry chorus. She did not ask for quiet. She didn't need to. She simply waited, and one by one, the voices fell silent. "We are here," she said, voice low but clear, because of a woman named Lieutenant Miriam Chun. The chamber paused, confused. The Zenkari ambassador hissed again. "A low-ranking soldier? This council does not answer to every casualty in war." "She wasn't a soldier," Vos said sharply. "She was a doctor, a field medic. She carried no weapons. She volunteered for plague relief in your colonies. She went to save Zenkari lives." A screen behind her activated, displaying a smiling image of a young woman in a medical uniform. Dark eyes, warm expression, holding a medical scanner in one hand, the Earth flag on her shoulder. Vos continued. She and her team were sent to the moon, called Raltan's Hollow, a settlement suffering from hemorrhagic fever. She requested safe passage. She received written approval from your planetary council. Silence. She never came back. General Vos tapped her wrist pad, and the image shifted. Drone footage, silent, grayscale. A medical outpost, burned. Corpses of nurses and doctors, mutilated. Blood darkened the rocky ground. And then, the image that made the chamber freeze. Miriam. Her body was hung from a metal post outside the medical shelter. Her uniform torn, her face bruised, her ID tag nailed into her shoulder. Gasps rippled across the hall. General Vos did not flinch. "Your government," she said, looking directly at Vak Talzen, "refused to investigate. You told our diplomats that local customs may have been involved. You dismissed it as a misunderstanding. Then you blocked our ships from retrieving the bodies." A hush spread through the council like a cold wind. "We tried diplomacy. You ignored us. We requested a neutral tribunal. You refused. You told us it was a matter of honor." Her voice hardened. "So we brought our own." Vak Talzen sputtered. "You threatened war over one human." Vos's eyes locked onto his. "You attacked our woman." The word were blade. The council fell into a stunned silence. Vos didn't look away. "You thought we would let this go, that we would be reasonable, that we would forget. You were wrong." She turned slowly, looking at every species present. "This isn't about one soldier or one planet. This is about what kind of galaxy we're building. One where the innocent are protected, or one where the powerful cover their crimes with excuses." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. "Humanity will not kneel. Not to fear, not to politics, and definitely not to those who butcher healers and call it tradition." The chamber remained silent. She stepped back, and for the first time in decades, the mighty Galactic Council had no response. Her name was Miriam. General Helena Vos stood with her hands resting lightly on the edges of the podium, letting the silence stretch until it was almost unbearable. Then she spoke again. Her voice was quieter this time, not less forceful, just more personal. Her name was Miriam Chun, she said, as the projection changed again. Now it showed video footage, grainy, taken from a body cam. Miriam stood in a refugee camp, kneeling beside a Zenkeri child whose scales were pale with fever. She gently applied a salve, whispering softly in the alien tongue, her voice calm and soothing. Around her, dozens of alien civilians watched, some suspicious, others hopeful. She was 29, born in Nairobi Dome, graduated top of her class in xenomedical studies. She learned Zenkeri dialects by choice, not assignment. She said it was rude to heal people you couldn't speak to. Vos's voice didn't shake. She was a soldier. But there was something else in her eyes now, something hard to define. Grief sharpened into conviction. Miriam didn't carry a weapon. She carried medicine, field rations, and a water purifier. She requested this mission because she believed it would matter. And when the fever broke out on Raltan's Hollow, she was the first to step forward. The chamber remained silent. Some alien delegates, especially among the smaller, less powerful species, watched with expressions of guilt or discomfort. She sent one last message before the line went dark. Vos said, a flick of her fingers. Another projection, a simple message, recorded in the cramped, dimly lit interior of the field unit. Mom, Dad, if you're seeing this, don't worry. We just landed. The situation is worse than expected, but I've got my team, and we've got supplies. We're going to make a difference here. I love you. The image froze on her smile. General Vos let it sit. 36 hours later, she was tortured to death. Her body was displayed as a warning. And you, Ambassador Vak Talzin, called it a regrettable outcome of regional tension. Vak Talzin flinched, his tendrils curling in discomfort. Vos looked around the chamber, her gaze unflinching. We asked for answers. You gave us excuses. We asked for justice. You gave us silence. She stepped forward now, her boots echoing softly against the chamber's polished floor. I'm not here to beg you for your sympathy. I'm not here to explain why this matters to us. Because you already know. You just hoped we would forget. She raised her arm again. A final image flashed on the screen, Miriam's dog tag, recovered by the drone team. Bent, bloodstained, but legible. Every Terran child learns that dog tag format. It's a promise. If you wear one, and you fall, we come for you. That's our covenant. Not just between soldiers. Between all of us. You attacked someone who believed in helping your people more than protecting herself. You made her a target because she was human, because she was vulnerable, and because you thought we wouldn't care. Now she was addressing the Council directly. Every ambassador, every species. You thought Earth would swallow this crime. You mistook our silence for weakness. You saw diplomacy and called it cowardice. Her voice rose now, not in anger, but in force. But we do not forget our own. We do not forgive butchers. And when you hurt one of us, especially one who came in peace, we remember. Not just as soldiers, not just as diplomats, as humans. The chamber felt heavier now. The arrogance, the shouting, the political posturing from earlier, gone. Some delegates avoided her gaze. A few blinked moisture from their eyes. The ambassador of the Hrin Collective, a quiet species known for neutrality, stood from his seat and placed a single hand over his chest in solemn acknowledgement. Vos didn't smile. She wasn't here for sympathy, only truth. She was our healer, Vos said quietly, and you murdered her. Now the question before this council is not what Earth will do. She leaned forward, locking eyes with the chamber once more. The question is what you will do, now that you know who she was. And then she stepped back, leaving only the silence and Miriam's final words hanging in the what justice means to humanity. The silence in the chamber was a living thing. The Galactic Council, once so loud, so sure of itself, now sat motionless. General Helena Vos didn't need to speak further. She had said what needed saying, but she had not yet finished. She tapped her datapad again. A star map projected into the air. Red points shimmered around the Zenkeri core systems. Here, she said, is Earth's blockade. Every node carefully placed to avoid civilian shipping lanes, medical supplies, or food transports. No harm has come to any non-military vessel. A few murmurs rippled across the council. The ambassador from the aquatic Nalari murmured. Then why blockade it all? Because without pressure, Vos replied, the Zinkari regime would never admit wrongdoing. And because we will not allow them to erase the crime by burying it under bureaucracy. She looked directly at the Zinkari ambassador. You refuse to surrender those responsible. You claim you don't know their names. But our intelligence says otherwise. With a flick, 6 profiles appear midair. Zinkari military commanders. Regional warlords. Their records were stained with past atrocities. One had even been awarded a local honor for maintaining regional compliance, the same region Miriam's team had landed in. Vaktal's scales dimmed with discomfort. You let the worst of your people represent your law, Vos said. And then you hid behind tradition. Earth calls that cowardice. The chamber stirred again. This time, not in outrage, but in reconsideration. A few ambassadors exchanged glances. Whispered translations passed between aides. Vos could feel the shift, small but real, but there was still resistance. The Saraxi diplomat, a crustacean-like being with jade plates, clacked his mandibles. You asked for retribution, he said. That is the human way. Eye for eye, blood for blood. Vos turned toward him slowly. No, she said. I asked for justice. There is a difference. The room listened. Retribution is easy, Vos continued. We have the firepower to flatten every Zinkari military base on 6 planets. But that's not what we're doing. She gestured again. A video played. Earth's fleet. Not firing. Not attacking. Just holding position, silent, patient, waiting. We do not want war. But we will not pretend peace exists when the innocent are murdered and no one is held accountable. Her tone hardened. We sent envoys. You dismissed them. We submitted evidence. You ignored it. We gave you time. You buried the truth. Now she stepped forward. But understand this. If justice is denied here, before this council, then humanity will act without your approval. Not out of rage, but out of principle. The Kaurine ambassador, a towering reptilian warrior, leaned forward from his stone seat. You would defy the compact? He rumbled. I would honor it, Vos replied, in the way it was meant to be upheld. You created this council to stop war, to build order. But order without justice is just control. And peace without accountability is surrender. That landed hard. Even Saraxi sat back and thought. Vos allowed herself a breath. She looked at the flickering image of Miriam's ID tag, still floating behind her. Then she spoke again, softer now. Miriam's mother is still alive. Her father, too. They wake every day wondering if this galaxy values the life their daughter gave. Her eyes swept the chamber again. And I'm here to make sure the answer is yes. No one moved. No one dared to interrupt. Finally, she placed one final document into the central file node. Earth proposes a council-led tribunal, she said. Joint judges. Evidence provided to all species. Neutral observers. No human force will strike unless the Zinkari refuse the tribunal's verdict. That's our offer. We do not demand revenge. We demand truth. And with that, General Vos stepped back. She had spoken not as a conqueror, not as a commander, but as the voice of every human who believed a healer should not die for trying to save strangers. Now the galaxy had to decide whether they believed it, too. The verdict of the stars. 3 days passed. The Galactic Council did not adjourn. No recesses were granted. No delegates returned home. The chamber remained in session, its members locked in tense deliberations under the watchful eye of history. The image of Lieutenant Miriam Chen's bruised, gentle face still hung quietly in the holographic air, impossible to ignore. In that time, General Helena Vos remained within the diplomatic enclave, refusing interviews, ignoring political posturing, and answering only one question when asked how long Earth would wait. Her response was simple. As long as the galaxy needs to choose who it is, but not a moment longer. On the 4th day, the final vote was called. Delegates from 112 species stood. Some gave their response in solemn silence. Others offered quiet apologies, indirect but sincere. Only a handful abstained. And of all those present, only the Zinkari ambassador remained seated when the council speaker delivered the results. The council accepts Earth's petition for an independent war crimes tribunal. By 86% majority, the Zenkeri Regional Command is to surrender all named individuals for investigation and judgment. The chamber was still, even as the consequences rippled across every species. Vak Talzen rose slowly, his face a stone mask. This is coercion, a humiliation. We do not yield to emotional manipulation. General Vos stood from her seat. No, you're yielding to truth. You dare parade a single death as... She wasn't a single death. Vos's voice cracked like thunder across the chamber. She was the line. Talzen's jaw opened, but no sound came. The Zenkeri delegation stormed from the chamber. No one followed them. One by one, the council delegates turned not toward Earth's ambassador, but toward General Helena Vos. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Justice had finally moved, not because of treaties or fleets, but because she had refused to let them forget. 2 months later, the tribunal was held in orbit over neutral space, attended by dozens of species. The evidence was presented without embellishment. Drone footage, DNA scans, Zenkeri communiques intercepted and decoded. Local testimonies, once silenced by fear, were finally spoken. Miriam's killers, 3 local warlords, a military overseer, and 2 command officers, were found guilty of war crimes. Their defense collapsed under the weight of recorded orders and eyewitness accounts. They were sentenced to a penal colony on the frozen moons of Uvrith, a place from which none ever returned. But it was not vengeance. It was recognition, justice. At the ceremony, the tribunal's closing was attended by only a few from each delegation. General Vos was not scheduled to speak, but as the judges prepared to depart, a soft voice echoed across the silent deck. It was Miriam's mother. She stood with the poise of a teacher, her hand clutching her daughter's old medical ID badge. She looked at the alien judges, her voice clear and gentle. She believed in helping, even those who never thanked her. That's what being human means. You don't have to look like us, talk like us, or even like us. If you're hurting, we help. Then she turned to General Vos. You made the galaxy remember that. Thank you. Vos didn't reply. Her expression was unreadable, but her hands were tight at her sides, trembling slightly. Aftermath. The Zenkeri government collapsed 6 weeks later. Not from war, but from shame. Civilians overthrew the old regime, disgusted by what had been hidden from them. A new coalition took power. The first formal act they issued was a full apology to Earth, to Miriam's family, and to the Council. Earth withdrew the blockade that same hour. 8 ships were the first to arrive in Zenkeri space. Medical vessels, crewed by both human and alien volunteers. Miriam would have smiled at that. Final scene. Back on Earth, the Central Human Memorial Archive added a new entry. Lieutenant Miriam Chun. She healed without borders. She served without fear. She died without justice until we remembered her name. And beside her plaque stood another, smaller one. She was our woman, General Helena Vos.